So they'll be calling you a radical. So Google says that we have to tell, not children, we have to tell whether this video is for kids or not for kids. Not children, kids for kids, because parents can't be parents. And, you know, that internet's terrible on them kids. I was listening to Doug Wright on KSL, that terrorist, and that fearmonger. And he was saying, well, you know, the internet. And they talk in this passive-aggressive voice. That's how they go do it. They're like, you know, and that internet, it's horrible, you know. And I remember when I was a professor one time, this woman told me, well, I can't believe you're teaching our children. I says, teaching your children? I'm a professor. They're grown adults. So they said, oh, when years ago, Doug Wright says, well, they used to just come on the television and they'd play the national anthem and the television's off for the night. That's what they need to do on the internet. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why don't they turn off KSL? These people will listen to KSL, this hate speech, or Fox News, or Sean Hannity 8-10 hours a day. And they're worried about what their kids are watching. Who's the children? So, first to get a few things out of the way, Tim Martin, who was the first one on Earth to report the sniffer plane in Oregon, and it's been verified. These radiation detections are going crazy. Radiation has spiked over the western United States. It's been verified. There's other vloggers and other photographs, you know, after the fact now that are out there saying, yeah, they've seen it, blah, blah, it's been verified. So these radiation over the last 2 weeks have gone crazy. They've got a spike over the western United States. So what is it? So my hypothesis is that they dumped. And I think, you know, they've been dumping the whole time, but I think they went ahead and flushed at Fukushima all of it. I think that's what it is. That's just my hypothesis, you know, rising up. Because it doesn't matter if you push it in the ocean or the air. I mean, it's ecology, kids. And or it could be the meltdowns on the White Sea. The 8-8, the SMRs in Russia. I mean, the winds, but there's something going on. So let's talk about this for kids. So let's explain, let's start this, you know, for you kiddies, you know. So we'll start, what is a nuclear reactors are magic. That's what the nuclear, they're magic. They just poof, presto, magic, koopo, poofo. By the way, you know, we'll be Fred Rogers. By the way, Fred Rogers is probably one of the greatest human beings who ever walked the face of the earth. Jim Henson also. But where did Fred Rogers live? His grassroots studios, that incredible grassroots. It's got to be one of the most fantastic grassroots influencer men who ever walked the face of the earth. Pennsylvania, near 3 Mile Island. So I always love this story. I always quote it. And Diane Reeves used to tell this story. She says, I got an interview with Fred Rogers. Always wanted to interview him. He was going to come on my show on NPR. And they talk like this too also. Oh, there's been a major nuclear meltdown. These people are dead. Now let's check the weather, Bob. So she's talking in her fake voice. And then the right-wingers like the KSL, oh, they, you know, you got to get your gun and shoot the neighbors because they covet your Walmart stuff. I mean, this passive. Okay, kids, this is for kids. How are you, Mr. Rogers? Well, Mr. Rogers isn't doing so good today. Why is it Mr. Rogers? What? What's going on? Mr. Rogers has a tummy ache. He has a tummy ache. He has a stomach ache. Oh, that's terrible. Too bad, is it? Are we going to be able to go ahead with the... Yeah, I'm fine with the interview. After the interview is over, I mean, it almost makes me cry, and I'm a girlfriend. I mean, this story always has made me, this is before I got cancer, makes me tear up. He had been to the doctor that morning, and the doctor had diagnosed him with terminal stomach cancer and told him he was going to die soon. And he still did the interview that day. So, I mean, so let's start this, kiddies. So here's what it is, kiddies. So we have what we call the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate. was created when a guy named Albert Einstein, a heck of a way to boil water, who was a peace activist, he wrote a letter to Franklin Roosevelt because his friend says the Germans, World War's going on, have this thing where they've split the atom, they've created bombs. So they opened up the faucet, the money spigot in the United States called the Manhattan Project, which is through unlimited money to make a nuclear bomb. We dropped the 2 nuclear bombs on the island of Japan because Japan had attacked Pearl Harbor in December 7th, which got the United States into what we call World War II, which we'd already been in World War I, the war to end all anything. So we basically, Hoover, we could use him, I mean, who was one of the most hated presidents because but even he said, after they vaporized hundreds of thousands of people, just so to indiscretionally kill women and children revolts my soul. Herbert Hoover. So Russia and the United States fought side by side together. They were allies. And then the English, the Queen, against the Germans. Hitler's Germans. War over, Russia lost 25 million men, had passed away. So they divided up the world, Yalta by the sea. The United States took Japan. The United States became part of, Japan became part of the United States. That was Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt died short. He passed away, went on to heaven shortly after that. A guy named Truman became, and he decided to drop these bombs, and he vaporized and mass murdered hundreds of thousands, well, to flex his muscle at their old allies, the Russians, which we created the Cold War. Pop, 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 nuclear energy must stop, pop, pop. So they opened up this spigot called the Manhattan. They have this new technology, this magic from heaven that can make clean, green, too cheap to murder energy. So unlimited sums of money, children, just flow to this industry. Then they pass laws that you can't sue. We have a law called Price-Anderson passed, no liability. So the nuclear energy has grown over the years to be what we call the untouchables. So you know when you're in kindergarten and the teacher teaches you, you know, sharing, being nice to others, all these things you learn, the golden rule, that applies to everyone except for what we call the nuclear energy organized crime syndicate, which is against law, organized crimes against the law in the United States, except for the nuclear energy. They can mass murder, pillage, rape, bomb, slaughter, kill, anything. They do anything they want, and your own taxpayer money gives them gazillions, gazillions, gaboobles of money, all they want. Okay, kids? So what happened? We built up all these nuclear reactors on our island in Japan to experiment, to flex our muscle at China, you know, Russia. Nuclear reactors are not there to make energy. They're there to make people rich and to intimidate people and to make nuclear bombs. Because what happens, they make nuclear waste and they sell the nuclear waste back to the government. It becomes what we call a cash cow. You know how you drink your milk at recess, kiddies? From the cow, and the cow gives milk every single day, no matter what, and they can sell that milk. That's what we call a cash cow. This becomes the most radiated, deadly cash cow in human history. It's unlimited sums of money with no liability. So they can rape, murder, mass murder, and no one, and the media. So we had what we call a tsunami, and we had a, which is caused by an earthquake. We had one of the biggest earthquakes ever recorded in so-called modern times. these nuclear reactors have cores around them, and it's a real crazy, mean, nasty Hulk plutonium energy Spider-Man that goes on in there. The earthquake cracked them. They went into meltdown. They got hot, really hot, and started to melt, like when you would get your grilled cheese sandwich on the stove. But then they blew up. And we have this thing called the jet stream, kids. It wasn't even known till World War II, the Doolittle run. But there were some Japanese philosophers that believed 1,000 years ago there's this really crazy wind up there that goes really super, super fast, like. So they made these bombs out of balloons. Like you have a party, they make the balloons. Well, they tie these bombs to them because in Japan, because the earth is round, kids, and the jet stream moves left to right. It moves, so they fugo me not. They called them fugo bombs, and they would get him up in the air and hoping they'd get the United States and bomb us because we were at war with them. We didn't tell anybody because let's keep it a secret. Don't scare the peasants. The loose lips sink big ships, so we didn't tell anybody. It was true. So Fukushima, Japan, the same thing. When it blew up, they fugoed. It came over the United States. So Kevin Blanch is on the internet screaming, they're lying, there's nuclear meltdowns, blah, 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 blah. So we have radiation detecting dishes, just like these ones we're seeing this spike of radiation now. Barack Obama, the President of the United States, was propped up and given money to run for president by the nuclear energy industry. They asked him, please, Mr. President, can you turn off those radiation dishes because we don't want people to know. Yes, yes, because I'm a good dumb puppet. So he did. They turned them all off. They went to the media and says, no reporting on Fukushima. Shh, don't scare the... So Barack Obama on St. Patrick's Day, you know, we get the green cookies and, you know, maybe you have some corned beef and cabbage and don't get pinched. On that holiday, which was just 6 days after, he did a press conference in the Rose Garden. And his kiddies were already flown out, and they were in South America to get out of it. And he says, we want you to keep informed. So him and all his friends, what's the CEO of General Electric who built the reactor? That's a guy who runs a company, who built these reactors. He got together with those guys and he flew to South America to get out while we got radiated. They had a meeting in what they call the Situation Room. Inside what we call the, which they all make decisions, there was a guy named John Holdren, who was head of the Science and Technology team, took over the room. Then we had the Joint Chief of Staffs. We have Marines, Navy, Army, all of them, Air Force. One of them, who's going to be the Joint Chief of Staff, the head of them is the Navy guy. So they were arguing because they knew these were meltdowns. So what happened? This core broke, they broke up, they exploded, and this invisible poison got into that jet stream and started coming over there. They wanted to send this ship in, the USS Reagan, because it was already there nearby, and spray water on it. They wanted to also send 32 more ships in to evacuate U.S. military personnel and civilians, which was over 2 million people. And the Navy, who was the head of the Joint Chiefs, he said yes. Well, inside there, John Holdren says, no, you will freaking crush the nuclear energy if these people find out. He says, no, I want it all evacuated. He says, you can't evacuate, you must just let them hunker down and be radiated. Why would they do that to their own men? To protect their friends who gave them all the money, the nuclear industry. So, a guy named Cartwright, who liked to watch reruns of Bonanza on TV. That's a sitcom where they fairy tale, they go out and they herd cows and ride horses and becomes his natural occupying bird. He called himself Hoss. He's head of the United States military. He also liked to watch Star Trek a lot. And I guess think it's so they says, no, we won't send. He says, make it so. So they sent it and they radiated all their own men and killed their own men just to protect their money, their nuclear industry, their money. So a guy named Abe, who's the Prime Minister of Japan, who's Fukushima is kind of like your state. Utah, Idaho, California have states, right? They have prefectures. Fukushima is one of them. This reactor was in there. We call it Fukushima. It was called Fukushima Daiichi. There were a bunch of nuclear reactors. They exploded. They blew up. They got into that jet stream thing. They were panicked, so they decided to dump water and push it into the ocean for 3,200 days. Now, have you learned about the eco chain, kiddies? The eco chain. Now, again, Japan's here. The jet stream moves this way. What's this way from Japan? That would be California, Oregon, Washington, the United States. So they says, we got to knock water down and push it in the oceans. We have ocean currents. Do you know about ocean currents? There's rivers inside the ocean, Japanese. They run swiftly, kids, right to the U.S. Everything washed up to the U.S. All the jet stream over the U.S. Just hammering and hammering. Now remember, they took down those dishes. Why? To protect them. We had a guy named Gregory Jacko who was head of the NRC. Now you know, you kindergarten little kids. You know how the little kids, now we're 4 and 5 now. You know how the 2 and the 3-year-olds, they get afraid and cry for their mommy sometimes. Inside the situation room, he was supposed to protect us and argue for us, whatever. He got real afraid and started to cry for his mommy. And he got in the corner and started to cry, and he cried, and John Holt Baltimore pushed him to the side. He was paid to protect. His name's Gregory Jacko. He cried for his mama. They all cried for mommy. And just like Gregory Jacko, a guy named Abe in Japan, he's the president. He's the prime minister. He runs the United States. So because we dropped bombs on Japan and vaporized and killed all the kids and mass murder for no reason, just to flex at Russia, because we're trying to control the world, they will not come here. Never. Only one time ever since World War II, the war to end all wars. One time. So he comes over he owns Barack Obama. Barack Obama, you know how you kiddies, you see people walking their dog on their leash and they're ordering the dog around like it's a person. And that's, a lot of people have lots of kids, so they have someone to order around like that. That's what Obama was to a bee. He was on his leash. He was his pet on his leash. He told me, here, food. So he did everything he said to do, and yes, for the nuclear industry, yes, because he is the nuclear industry. So then a guy named Donald Trump ran for president, and they, what we call a handoff. And then Donald Trump became worse than Obama. He became a bee's best, you know how you have your best bosom buddy you hold hands with, and you go to, do your homework. Oh, you don't have homework, or you guys take your nap together. They take their naps together with each other. They've been together 18 times. So you know how that pet, your neighbors or your mom has a dog, she orders you, or now she tells you everything to do, like you have to clean your room, you have to go to bed, you eat your, SpaghettiOs. That's what Donald Trump is to a bee. A bee tells him every move to make, just like he did Obama. Because they like nuclear industry and they think they're going to be the new nuclear royalty. They bow, they do everything it is. So Barack Obama and Donald Trump are nothing more than their pets on a leash. The United States is run by a guy named Abe, who is the imperialist for the nuclear industry. He runs the world. The media bows to him. Everyone in the United States, scientists say they're mystified, they're puzzled. So the eco chain collapses. Kevin Blanche goes and walks the coast. I get cancer. I'm sick. I'm stripped up. You've seen stories. Maybe you've had friends that they lose all their hair and they have to go in the hospital and get this thing inside them, and they put this stuff in them trying to kill them. I was one of those. I was real sick, so I walked the coast of California because the little fishies started to die. And you ever seen a cute little starfish? You know what those starfish, they're red and they're orange, they're beautiful, right? All of them they said it was wasting. Right after they all died. So we call them tide pools. There's lots of beautiful colored creatures right there on the edge of the ocean, right kids? You've been there with mom and dad, and you've gone there and you've seen all those, you know what they look like. They all died. Then the little fishies in the ocean. The little fishies started, anchovies started, then the big fishies, and then the bigger fishies. Bigger fishies eat little fishies, the eco chain. And then the big, beautiful, you've seen whales, they died all washed up. Scientists took all the money and bowed to a bee in the nuclear industry and says, we're mystified, we're puzzled, we're stumped, oh, we don't know, oh, we're scientists, we're mystified, we're perplexed. Now they say the oysters are dying in Japan, all acutely died. Unclear. Now if you take the first two letters of unclear and flip them, what is that? Nuclear. How come they have that wrong? They're mystified, they're puzzled, they're stumped, they're perplexed, they're bewildered, they're curious, they're alarmed. Is that science, kids? So this hot inner source they push in the ocean killed the eco chain. And it's like it got so hot that it caused fires all over California, whatever, and the media and all the scientists and everybody bowed to them because they are the untouchables. The nuclear industry runs the world. They are God Almighty. You know, you've heard your parents talk about God or listen to Sean Hannity on the radio or all the people, Jesus coming back. The nuclear is God. They are. So the bottom line is the media, science, academic professors, the whole world hates your fucking guts and wants you dead, kids. They hate you. And they run and own the world. And there are no political, but you know what political party we hear? Democrat, Republican, donkey up. There are no political parties. There's one. The nuclear energy crime syndicate. They run the world. They own the world. The Manhattan Project, they own the world, including Google. Because they say we need to kids. So, it's a heck of a way to boil water. It's the greatest event in human history. They killed their own men. They want to kill you. They hate you. They want you dead. They're degenerate sickos, what for their own power and sick greed. Killed the world. But we don't need animals, right, kids? We don't need. What do we need? Starfish. What do we need? Well, the salmon are collapsed. So the government, Congress, and that's where to go shoot sea lions. You know, kill them. So stay in tuning. The Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, lock, stock, barrel, owns you. Every one of you. They own you. They own you. They own Obama. They own Trump. They own you. Lock, step. They're untouchable. Nobody stands up to them. Except for, you know, there's a couple guys. Ain't done for a few tries. A guy named Kevin Latch, he sure stood up to them. But then the government hires what they call trolls. And PR firms paid money to go out, which is felonies in all 50, because he was in critical condition. He had cancer. That's against the law. You can't attack a person like that. They can. With your own government money, Price Anderson, NEI they're called, the Nuclear Energy Industry, which is an organized crime syndicate that gets all this, again, the Manhattan Project opened up, and they can attack, they can slander, they can, all them things you learn in kindergarten, the golden rule doesn't apply to them. No laws apply to them, nothing. They're God. They can do anything. They can kill Mr. Rogers, they can kill Jim Henson, they can kill Bert and Ernie. By the way, I haven't had this hat on since I was in the bone marrow transplant. Remember I used to wear this in the bone marrow? They can kill children, they can kill all the animals, they can do anything they fucking want. Anything. And nobody stands up to them. Why? I don't know. Stand tuning. Kids. Who's the fucking kids?